Answers in Genesis and Cedarville College present Answers with Ken Ham, a 12-part video series defending the Bible from the very first verse. Today's question, fossils and the flood. What's the connection? And now, Ken Ham.
I want to ask you all an interesting question. Where was the Garden of Eden located? Australia? America? In the area around the present Tigris and Euphrates rivers? We can't know, it's not important. Who would say Australia, by the way? No, I'm the only Australian here, I guess. Who says in the area around the present Tigris and Euphrates rivers? Who would say that? Most of us would say that. Well, I want you to think about this for a moment. If you actually open up the Bible and you read in the Bible in Genesis chapter 2, it tells us there were 4 rivers that came from one source. But if you look at the map of the Tigris and Euphrates River area today, what do you notice? You don't see 4 rivers coming from one source, do you? Does that mean the Bible's wrong? Or does that mean there's something different about this area? In fact, I also want you to think about this. The Bible tells us that there was a global flood, covered the highest hills under the whole of the whole of heaven. I believe that Noah's flood would have ripped up the land surface. It would have totally changed the topography. I mean, I don't think we'd have a clue where the Garden of Eden was because of Noah's flood. Not only that, if Noah's flood's true, you'd expect to find billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. And by the way, you know what you find, billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. We've already talked about the fact that the fossil record is full of disease and suffering and violence and so on. I mean, how can we have billions of dead things before sin? We can't. And yet, that area where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are today, there are thousands of feet of sediment under those rivers containing billions of dead things. I mean, do you mean Adam and Eve are in this garden on top of this, and this is a perfect world, Adam? Yes, it's very good, just like God said, and underneath there's all these billions of dead things and disease and suffering and violence? That doesn't make any sense, does it? You might say, well, wait a minute. How come it's got the same names? You know, Tigris and Euphrates, and they're the names given there in Genesis. A number of years ago, in fact, about 4,500 years ago, a boat landed in the Middle East, and a man got off that boat. What was his name? Noah. And Noah lived in the pre-flood world, didn't he? You know, when settlers came from the old world England to Australia, they brought some of the names with them. You see lots of names in Australia today, the same as you see in England. What do you think happened when Noah came from the old world to the new world? He used some of the same names. So, you know, that area around the Tigris and Euphrates rivers today, that's not where the Garden of Eden was. People say, that's where the cradle of civilization existed. Well, no, but that's where civilization started after the flood, which is very different, isn't it? You know why I ask you that question? I ask you that question to show how much we tend to start from our present world and understanding of things, and we try to take that to the Bible instead of starting from the Bible as foundational to our thinking. So when we're starting to talk about fossils and how the fossils got here, remember, fossils exist in the present, don't they? Fossils don't exist in the past, they don't exist in the present. You don't dig up fossils with little labels on saying, hi, I'm 65 million years old or anything like that. No, not at all. By the way, sadly, there are many Christian colleges that teach their students that Noah's flood was only a local flood. You see, when you believe in millions of years, and you'll recall when we talked about the